Hi, I'm Carlin Borisenko. In early 2020, I was the knitting Democrat who accidentally went viral on the internet for going to a Trump rally and then left the party. I became the conservative darling, was on all the shows, traveled around the country, and then realized that conservatives were no better than Democrats. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that both political tribes are two sides of the same coin. But it wasn't all bad. On my journey, I became obsessed with understanding the woke ideology and the culture war. I broke the story of the city of Seattle doing segregated training with its employees.
How bad has this stuff become? The city of Seattle has now put out, I'm not kidding you, this is according to Dr. Carolyn Borisenko, who's an organizational psychologist. The city of Seattle asked its white employees to voluntarily spend a day off in a training about their internalized racial superiority.
I broke the story that led to the first ever federal lawsuit against critical race theory in the schools. I broke the Coke Be Less White story, one of the biggest anti-woke stories of all time. It got over 30 million views. Coca-Cola's corporate headquarters even had to change their outgoing voicemail.
Throughout the past few days, you may have seen inaccurate reporting on the content of our recently launched diversity, equity, and inclusion training program.
I exposed the schools in Burlington, Vermont for grooming middle school children live on the internet. They called me an unwoke cult leader for that. And the Vermont Human Rights Commission slandered me publicly as being a hate channel. I even got called a hero in Breitbart for exposing that the Washington Post was writing a hit piece on Christopher Rufo. I have broken story after story after story about what's going on in the public schools, from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to autistic sex education, to the Department of Education in Michigan, literally training teachers all over the state how to groom children. I wrote a book called Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. I host a podcast all about fighting back, and I'm downloading all of my knowledge to you on my Substack, carlin.substack.com. The world is a crazy place. We are literally surrounded by cults on all sides. On this show, we're going to do a deep dive into all aspects of the culture war, and I will show you the dark, dystopian underbellies on both sides. Here are the commitments I'll make to you. I will always tell you the truth. I will always bring you receipts. And if you stick with me, I promise you will see the world differently. Welcome to the cult. Please mount that like button for me and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Well, hey, everyone. How is your Wednesday going? I don't think I'm going to cry today. So that might be a little bit different than the past couple days. I don't know why my hat is crooked, though. Guys, welcome to The Cult. The Cult is a stream that I do at 5 p.m. on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. On Saturdays, we go at 6 p.m. for Socialism Saturday, of course. And then we always do some surprise streams here and there and everywhere. And Bot says, am I feeling better today? Well, Bot, yes and no. Yes and no. Am I feeling better? I guess. But the reason I feel better, and also slightly horrified and still black-pilled, is actually a topic that we're going to cover today. You know, sometimes life is really funny, right? Because it can either sometimes it reinforces things that you know are true, and it does it in the most hilarious way, that it's like the way that it reinforces the thing that you know is true is just so hilarious that even though you're really depressed about the thing that you had confirmed for you, it's just so hilarious that you have to just give in and go, I have to. What we are going to look at today is going to absolutely blow your mind. It is going to confirm the absolute ineptitude of the conservative right in fighting back against the woke ideology on the left. There is just no one, there's no way, there's nothing that they can do to talk themselves out of this now. It's like one of those things where, like, I in the entire time that I have been in this space, it's a little over 3 years now, I have always wanted the conservative right to be better than they are. And this is not a knock on any individual conservatives who might be watching in the chat right now. Remember, I don't know who's watching me. I don't know who you are. I don't know anything about you. So I'm not speaking to you specifically, but I have always wanted the conservative right to be better at fighting back against the culture war. I think there are many conservatives that honestly would agree with me on this point, where they look at their own team and they go, y'all a bunch of freaking morons. And it has been a constant frustration for me, and I think I have reached the point where I have come to a place of acceptance and resignation that we cannot ever expect the conservative right to be an ally. And that sucks. It really sucks because they could be if they wanted to be. They could be if they would listen. They could be if they would express any intellectual curiosity at all. But the fact is that they and I'm speaking as a collective. I'm not speaking as individuals. We know Beth is a conservative and Beth is also based. She really is. And she and you know, I'm not talking about individuals. I'm talking about as a collective. They're never going to change. And they are so far behind. Guys, the epiphany that I had today, and let me back up. And this all does relate to what we're going to be talking about, but let me get some stuff on the screen here. So yesterday I basically posted this on the Substack and basically did a stream kind of like begging, saying, "Guys, can we please see the value in infiltrating their trainings? Can we just see the value in that and support it?" And I put out an ultimatum. And I said to you, I truly believe that exposing what is going on in these trainings and also in the schools, but like the schools, the trainings lead to the schools, because the trainings that I look at, not all of them, but a lot of the trainings that I look at are professional development trainings specifically targeted for teachers and educators. Because if we know what the teachers are being trained in, and this information is readily available. If we know what the teachers are being trained in, then we know what is going on in the school districts. We know what they're investing their money in, and we know what's going to show up in the classroom. And so getting into these trainings and watching what they're doing and breaking it down, I truly believe is one of the most valuable things I can be spending my time on, and the school stuff as well. The problem is that it is not valued in the culture war at large. It is not valued at all by the conservative right. And the reason that I know it isn't valued is because A, they refuse to cover it. They cover nonsense that means nothing instead. B, they focus on outcomes of the problem, not the cause of the problem. I am focusing on the cause of the problem, not the outcome. They're focusing on the outcome of the problem, not the cause. And so they just don't see the value in understanding the cause of the problem, because they don't understand that they're focusing on the outcome rather than the cause. And so I have been in this position of feeling as though the work I'm doing is not valued, because it's not. It's not, by the majority of the people that are in this space. I still believe that I can find enough people to value this work to make it worthwhile. But the challenge that I laid out yesterday, and that I'm committed to, is that I need 200 more monthly supporters, or annual, I guess, on the Substack in about a month, to make it worthwhile for me to infiltrate a couple of really big conferences that are coming up. There are several over the course of like the rest of the year that I want to go into. And we're not talking about a one-off Zoom presentation. We're not talking about a one-out, like I've done Spy Stream for a while now. I know I can easily infiltrate a 1-hour like Zoom training and show you what's going on. We're graduating now. We're not just infiltrating one training. We're looking at entire effing events, attending them, documenting them in person and virtually, showing you what's going on. Because if I can show you guys what's going on, then we know what's going to go into the schools. We know what's going to go in front of your kids. We know we have the entire like chain of events leading up to the indoctrination of your kids. It is the cause of the problem. It is not the symptom of the problem. It is the cause of the problem. Okay? Where I have done a bad job, I think, or maybe not a bad job, but maybe I could do this better, is instead of focusing on the challenges that I'm getting with the conservative right smearing me and undermining every single thing that I try to do and have done for 2 years, what I need to do a better job of is in explaining to people why this content matters. And that's something that I'm going to work on and that I'm going to do better. But the ultimatum that I laid down yesterday still stands. And guys, if you want to support the work I'm doing, you can become a paying supporter over on my Substack, carlin.substack.com. And you can go to subscribe. It's $5 a month. It's $50 a year. We got 25 new people to sign up yesterday. That's phenomenal. And all of the money that is being raised by this, by the way, I reinvest pretty much I do basically like 3 things. I do this, I knit mostly while I'm doing this, and occasionally I eat. Occasionally I'm going to go make a burrito later. It's going to be great. But those are basically the 3 things I do. And so money that I make off of this stuff is almost always reinvested back into it, to try to build more content, to try to get you guys more things, to do the infiltrations because they do cost money to do. We have to get registrations. If we're doing stuff in person, we have plane tickets, we have hotels, stuff like that. So I want people to know that like when you sign up to support it, you're not only funding it, but you're also basically showing me that this work is valuable and that you want it, because that's been the sticking point for me is like if like I don't mind doing this stuff. And by the way, anyone can do this. Like you guys don't actually have to wait for me to do it, to be perfectly honest. Like anyone can do. I am not a magical and special snowflake. I figured this out through trial and error and I use public information in order to do it. Anyone can do it. You don't have to wait for me. But if you want me doing it, then I need to know that people value it, because this is a me thing, and there is nothing that I hate more in the world than wasting my time. Even if I think I'm doing something good, even if I think I'm doing something productive, there is nothing I hate more in the world than wasting my time. And for a while now, I have felt like I've been wasting my time because the content that I've been creating, that is, in my opinion, the most important content that I create, also performs the worst. And it's not getting out there and it's not getting covered because conservative media does not value what I'm doing. And so it's like it's performing the worst, it's not getting coverage. I can justify a lack of performance if it was at least getting in front of parents and people were reporting on it, but they refuse to do it because of their own ineptitude, and we're going to talk about that. Beth, thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it. But so if you want to help me out, make sure you're a paying supporter on the Substack. Thank you to the 25 people who signed up yesterday. That's awesome, and I really do appreciate it. And I promise to be a good steward of your contributions and provide you the best Unwoke content on the internet as a result. But the realization that I had this morning came from an unlikely place. It came as a result of the jackasses that have been haranguing me and harassing me on Twitter for over 2 years. You know, last night, some of you know about the Substack, some of you don't. We're going to go into Twitter drama just for a moment, but I promise it's going to round back out to something productive, okay? I have this Substack called Surviving Carrie Smith. You can find it at survivingcarriesmith.substack.com. And the reason I had to write this Substack was because Carrie Smith and her horde of woke cancel mob lunatics were openly harassing me and undermining every single thing I tried to do for over 2 years. And for like the first year of it, I ignored it. And when I was ignoring it, sadly, Carrie slid into the DMs of like multiple like influencers and discredited me, lied about me, undermined everything I was trying to do. She rallied a horde, of some of the most unhinged, stupid people on the internet to help her. And basically, I wrote Surviving Carrie Smith as basically to say, here are all the receipts that I have experienced over the last 2 years. And people who have read this will know how unhinged and crazy it is. Well, writing the book actually really helped because I was able, for the first time after going through this for 2 years, I was able to present receipts to say, here's what's actually going on. If you care to understand what these people have done, you can go and look. If you don't care, you're not someone I want to convince anyway. And it also, quite frankly, helped me excise an awful lot of pain that had built up with me in the situation the whole time. Anyway, so I finished the book at the beginning of the year. There were a couple more updates because Carrie Smith's horde is still obsessed with me to this day. They're talking about me right now. I promise you, many of them are probably hate watching this. Everyone wave to Carrie's horde. The reason that this becomes important is last night I posted this post. The end. And essentially, this was kind of what I thought would be like the final update to this Substack, unless I need to open it up again to say, listen, the problem is still going on. These idiots are still obsessed with me. They tweet about me every single day. They are unhinged, like they're crazy. However, I need to move on. And I think that I've effectively neutralized them, and I quite frankly feel like I've won, and I think that what I'm doing is so far superior to anything they're doing that it just doesn't matter anymore. You guys have the evidence, you have the documents, you have everything you need. Whatever. I am moving on now. See, this is one of Carrie Smith's horde right here. This person is pretending that they don't hate watch me every single day. And they're going, you're obsessed with Carrie. No, bro. No. See, they really do this. They fucking hate watch everything I do. Never show up to any other stream that I do. They only show up when I happen to be referencing this, and then they go, all you ever talk about is Carrie. You're obsessed with her. That's all you ever do. So, Chip, congratulations, buddy. Enjoy your block. So, the reason I bring this up is I posted this post last night, and George can attest to this. Because when I woke up this morning, I had 46 comments on this post from Carrie's unhinged fucking Twitter horde. And they were arguing with George, they were arguing with other people. And then I saw that they were arguing and doing all sorts of nonsense on Twitter again. And so I clicked in to like see like what are these crazy people saying about me now, just for funsies. And in the process of doing so, I happened upon a piece of information that put all of this, all of my angst about not feeling as though my work is valued and not feeling like conservatives would ever get it. I stumbled upon a piece of information that put this entire thing in perspective. And it both revealed at the same time that I am 100% right about conservatives and them not getting it. And it also made it crystal clear to me that, to be quite blunt, guys, no one's coming to save us. No one is coming to save us. If this is going to be done, it is going to be done by us. It is going to be done by people who get it. It's going to be done by people who do the work that we do. Because the thing that I realized, and let me show you what I stumbled upon. So, do you know how this article right here, where I said this jackass influencer on the Blaze deserves to have his kids transitioned? The whole point of this article is that conservative media refuses to cover things that matter. They downright refuse to cover one of the most important things I have ever exposed on this channel: autistic sex education. They refuse to cover it. And I could never figure out why. And now I figured it out. They have no idea what to do with my content. They have no idea why it's important. And the reason that they have no idea what to do with it and they have no idea why it's important is because we truly are years ahead of them. I promise we'll get to it. I promise. I'm doing a build up here. Let me riff, okay? I started happy hour. I do a happy hour stream on Fridays at 5 p.m. And basically in the happy hour stream, we watch woke training from start to finish. We watch the entire training. They're an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours long. We sit through the whole thing. We dissect it. We break it down. We talk about it. We listen to the language that they're using. We put a lot of time in on this. I started happy hour over 2 years ago. We have done it almost every single Friday since. Happy hour started as a joke. It started as, let's drink some beers on a Friday and watch a crazy woke training and laugh at these people. Well, guess what happened? I was able to get thousands of people to sit their asses down and watch what was going on, the full training. And yeah, we laugh and we make fun of them and we drink beer and we play bingo and all of that. But do you know what else happened in the course of happy hour? We all learned. We all learned a lot. And we went from people, this is why I say people who attend happy hour regularly, you guys know more about what's going on the woke left than like anyone else on the internet, because we sit there and listen to them for hours a week, what they say to other people. Okay. When like in their tribe, when they don't think we're listening. And over the course of doing this for 2 years, we became experts in woke. We became experts in what they're doing. It was an accident. I didn't mean it to happen that way, but it did. We vaulted ourselves past everyone else in this space. And then we started doing Socialism Saturday. And we started doing Socialism Saturday, what, like 8 months ago? Something like that. And then we started watching real live socialism. Like happy hour is like intro to woke. Socialism Saturday is advanced, okay? Because socialism, Marxism is where all the woke training comes from. It's like a trickle down. So we looked at the training that was occurring, and then we took the next step and said, where is this coming from? And then we started watching socialism every single week, sometimes multiple times a week, just to be fancy. And when we started watching socialism, our understanding of the happy hour streams vaulted to an even higher level, okay? What I have figured out is that conservative jackasses like this don't cover content like this, even though I have the full form training of what they are telling teachers to do with autistic children. They refuse to cover it because this content is so far ahead of where their understanding is of what's going on that they can't even wrap their heads around it. They quite literally cannot understand it. And so they ignore it, they make fun of it, they pretend it doesn't exist, even though this is the most important content that I think is being covered in the space right now. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it. I do. So what happened today? What happened after I followed Carrie's horde of unhinged lunatics onto Twitter to see what nonsense they were spinning up today just for fun, is I found this. Now, Mike Harlow is Carrie Smith's best friend. Mike Harlow is someone that I knew who pretended to be my friend for months to grift off my clout. And then when he didn't want to use me anymore, he started smearing me on the internet. Mike Harlow is the person that spread the smear campaign that is used against me all the time, who doxed my friends, who is just an all around, like, ridiculous, utter failure piece of garbage human being. He's also Brandon Strzok's best friend in the Walkaway campaign. Brandon Strzok, of course, approves of everything Mike Harlow does, endorses it, thinks Mike Harlow is just so necessary to getting people to leave the Democratic Party. He's absolutely vital. Anyway, I accidentally stumbled upon this because someone in Carrie Smith's horde had posted it on Twitter. I was like, what the fuck is this? Well, well, Human Events, for those who don't know, is a pretty, I mean, in the land of conservatives, let's just look at humanevents.com for a second. Human Events is a website that is not loading. There it goes. Jack Posobiec is one of the key people. If we look down here, hang on, Beth. What I'm learning is that some of the self-proclaimed woke don't even understand as much about the origins of their ideology that I learned here. No, they don't. They really don't. That's a whole other thing, Beth, but you're not wrong about that. So, do you guys know how I say that conservative media doesn't actually care about these issues because they refuse to cover them? Well, let's look at some of the people that think that Mike Harlow is the voice to platform on the conservative right. Libby Emmons, who is on Tim Pool all the time, editor of the Post Millennial, editor of Human Events, conservative pundit extraordinaire. Jack Posobiec, Charlie Kirk. This is not a little rinky-dink website. This is the conservative Twitterati, the leaders of the conservative right, the ones who will save us all, remember? Well, Human Events 2 months ago published this op-ed from Mike Harlow. Now, I'm going to sum up this op-ed, and then we're going to read it. And what I want you guys to listen for is Mike Harlow's understanding of what he's talking about versus our understanding of what he's talking about. So, and because these are light years apart. And when I say that we are 2 years minimally ahead of where the conservative right is, this article is going to illustrate that so perfectly. So here is the summary of this article. And I'm not making this up. And we're going to read it and you're going to see. This is what the conservative Twitterati thought was the most important message that the conservative right could hear about this topic. Here's the summary. Guys, drag queens are bad. And do you know what else is bad? There's this thing called queer theory. And I don't really know what queer theory is. I think it's like Karl Marx with sequins. And queer theory is also bad. So drag queens are bad and queer theory is bad. And we should fight things that are bad. And I'm gay, so I would know better than anyone that drag queens are bad and queer theory is bad. And we need to fight them both. That's what this article says. That's all it says. I'm gay. I think drag queens are bad. I think queer theory is bad. I don't really know what queer theory is, but it's bad. Trust me, bro, it's bad. And we should fight back against things that are bad. That's the message that conservatives are thinking is going to save us all. And here's the thing. It's not wrong. I mean, I don't think drag queens are personally bad. Like, I don't really care either way. But like, he's not wrong that queer theory is bad. But what I'm trying to articulate is they have no effing idea what they're even talking about. And not only that, he's stealing my language in this, by the way. You're going to see that too. Yeah. Hi, Mikey. I know you're watching me because you stole my language in your introduction kindergarten level article about queer theory, which you don't even understand. You guys are going to see that. So let's read this article. And while we're reading this article, I want you to think about the queer Marxism trainings that we've watched. I want you to think about all the times we've talked about the infiltration of the LGBTQ into education and happy hour. I want you to think about our every single person who watches me regularly. I promise you, you have a more in-depth understanding than the conservative Twitterati about what is going on. And you're going to see that so clearly. And I think it's important that we talk about this. So let's read. Drag Story Hour is the delivery system for queer theory. Well, kind of. There's a lot of stuff that he's saying in this article that is like technically correct, but he doesn't understand why it's correct. So is Drag Queen Story Hour the delivery system for queer theory? Kind of. Not really, but kind of. When I heard the New York Attorney General Letitia James was planning to participate in a drag queen story hour at the center in the West Village, I knew I had to make my voice heard. As a gay man and a New Yorker, I know what drag is about, and it's not for kids. It's been unclear to me, until now, why so many progressives are pushing drag queens and toddlers together. Okay, so there we have it. I'm gay, and drag is bad. Okay? Then I realized it's not about acceptance, tolerance, or drag. It's not about sex. It's not about making sure children know that being different is just as fine as being the same. It's about an ideology. Again, he's not wrong. It is about an ideology. But why? What is that ideology? What does that ideology believe? What does that ideology argue? Do you know anything about this ideology at all? It is a misconception that sexualization is the crux of the issue with Drag Queen Story Hour. Correct. But why? Sometimes it is. Nope. But these events are not always sexual. It doesn't matter. The drag is incidental. It is simply a delivery system for an ideology. A more accurate name would be Baby's Intro to Queer Theory. Again, you are technically correct that it is a delivery mechanism for an ideology, but you still haven't explained how it's being delivered. Is it being delivered through the children's books? Is it being delivered through the interaction with the drag queen? How is it being delivered? And then I don't know why they just have a random link to a tweet there. That doesn't make sense to me. It looks like Human Events has a broken website. This is an entry point to catapult children into a cult. It is normalizing what has always been fringe subculture, and that used to be the appeal of drag. It is ideological grooming. It is the equivalent of Scientologists going into schools to teach children about thetans and e-meters. There is a very clear agenda behind it. Again, not technically wrong. Everything that he's saying is technically correct, but again, it's just such a like this is kindergarten. This is preschool. This is like we are fucking in advanced college level master's program and they're dicking around in preschool saying bad things are bad, okay? They're not explaining what those things are because they don't know what those things are. Look at the books being read. Which books are they? Do you know what books are being read? I have a whole effing book list of books being read. I published it on the Substack. You can find it there. But does he know? Do conservatives know the books being read? I would bet they don't. That's why they don't that's why they don't publish them in the article. Look at the multiple sex offenders being shielded by putting on drag and hiding behind the magic words of the LGBTQ. Again, not technically wrong, but like making a statement is not actually evidence. These children are being groomed to be loyal soldiers to an ideology and a political party. It is Scientology meets North Korea, but with sequins. They cover it in lots of sugar and candy to meet it desirable to kids, just repeating how it's written because it has a typo in it, just like predators do. If they taught kids Karl Marx, they'd fall asleep. So they dress it up in wigs and stilettos. Okay, so he now has some sort of sense that it's Marxism, but how is it Marxism? What are they teaching that's Marxism? What does that even mean? The goal is to capture them into the radical far-left ideology that will have its hooks in them for life, that subverts their sense of self. It teaches them gender confusion, sex confusion. It subverts the family unit. Oh, really, Mikey? It subverts the family unit? How does it subvert the family unit, Mikey? What do they want to do with the family unit? How, like, can you give us more information? How does listening to a drag queen subvert the family unit? Do you know what Marxists want to do with the family unit? Do you know why they want to do it to the family unit? Do you understand the ideology behind it? I mean, maybe Mikey has heard that I've covered Abolish the Family like 18 times on this channel, and I'm the only one on YouTube really covering Abolish the Family, but he doesn't understand it. It introduces the idea of the community being a substitute for family, and this is a community that is toxic for most adults. Why are they so adamant about this? Why do they so badly want drag queens in front of your children? That's a great question, Mikey. Why haven't you answered why they want your children in front of drag queens since you are the writer of the article? But check this out. This is how we know, Mikey, you're reading my work. Hi. If destabilization is the ends, this is the means. Huh. Guys, who says that one of the 4 goals of the woke left is destabilize the system like every effing day on the internet? The 4 goals of the woke left are always and forever: gain as much power as possible, destabilize the system, attack capitalism, usher in your Marxist utopia. I just think it's funny that the word destabilized was specifically used there, with no explanation about what it even means. Again, no explanation about what that actually means. Drag Queen Story Hour is the syringe. Queer theory is the poison in it. What is queer theory, Mikey? What is it? Do you have any idea what it is? Of course he doesn't, because Mike Harlow is a comedic cultural commentator. So the point, guys, the point is, this is the understanding that the brightest minds in conservative Twitter, this is the understanding that they have of what is going on in the world. What do you guys think about this understanding? Let me know in the chat. Does it strike you that this understanding is a little bit elementary? Does it strike you that this amazing analysis of what's going on in the world leaves, I don't know, a little bit to be desired, a little bit to the imagination? The problem and the challenge that we face is this. Because we have done the work, we've done the work. Because we have sat down and watched these people every Friday for 2 years for happy hour, and every Saturday, and many times in between as well for Socialism Saturday for months. We have an advanced level of understanding of what is going on in the world. we have completely separated ourselves from like the average person. And that's a little weird to think about, isn't it? But when you read stuff like this, that is considered the absolute thing that conservatives need to be covered, and this is just the absolute best that they can do. When you read things like this, that leaves so much to be desired, that is so elementary, that is so not like obviously doesn't even understand the topic he's talking about, you start to understand why I'm having trouble getting stuff like this covered. Because they are not in a place to understand it. Either they don't have the intelligence or they don't have the experience, and they certainly do not have the exposure to it that we do. So guys, if you are relatively new to my channel and you're new and all of this sounds like crazy town to you, I implore you, come to happy hours on Fridays or watch the archive. I have a full archive of happy hour. You don't have to come live. You can go back and watch it anytime. But come to happy hours on Fridays. You will understand more than anyone else on the internet. Come to Socialism Saturday on Saturdays. You will start to you're going to be confused as hell at first, I promise you, because again, Socialism Saturday is really advanced. Happy hour is like introductory. Socialism Saturday is advanced. But I promise you, if you can get yourself to sit down with us and watch what's going on and dissect it, and I will give you the explanations. I will explain as much as I can. People in the chat can help explain. You will start to understand better than anyone on the internet what is going on. That's what we need more of right now. We don't need this. This makes no difference at all. This does nothing more than to rile people up. This is outrage porn. What we need to defeat the woke left is people sitting down and listening. And I wish there was a shortcut that I could give you. I really do. And I'm trying to be better about making clips of things to like really get me explaining key points. But there is no shortcut to a lot of this stuff, guys. A lot of it's on demand. You can find it on demand. You can watch it on your own time. I know sometimes it's boring. I know sometimes it's cringy. I know you don't want to. I know there are more interesting things on. But if you want to really understand what's going on at an advanced level, then these are the things that you need to do. And we know that because we did it. We didn't intend it to happen this way. It was an accident. It really was. But it's what occurred anyway. And that's why I am able to see further out than a lot of people, and a lot of you can too. Because we know what to look for now. And we know how they work. And we know how they're showing up. And do you know who else knows how they're showing up? James Lindsay. The God King himself, Lindsay. I think there are very few people on the internet who can see further out with the woke left than I can, but James Lindsay is absolutely one of those people. James Lindsay sees further out than almost anyone because James Lindsay, so with my work, I focus on the practical implementation. What I mean by that is we watch videos. We watch their trainings. We watch their training videos. We watch their podcasts. We watch their educational sessions. We watch the things that they say to each other in the real world, okay? What James Lindsay focuses on is the philosophy, the literature, the writings, the historical context. And he breaks it down and explains it to people and then relates it back to what's going on in the real world. These are two different perspectives. But oftentimes, those perspectives end in the same place. Not always. There are things that I absolutely disagree with James Lindsay on, and I'm sure there's many things he disagrees with me on. But oftentimes, we do actually end up in a really similar place, right? Now, the thing of it is he's done this for longer, and he's better at it than me. And so he can see further out. He can see further out than I can. And so I want to take a look at this thread because James Lindsay, also like me, does not mind pissing off conservative Christians at all. And I love him for it because he's an atheist. He doesn't. Oh, my phone just fell down. He doesn't buy into their nonsense. And oh my God, did James Lindsay piss off the conservative Christians this week? That was what I got. I got the shrapnel of James Lindsay pissing off the conservative Christians. That's why they were coming after me, because they were originally going after him. And I want to read the thread that James Lindsay wrote that really pissed them off, because the thing of it is, guys, is where conservatives and the right continue to absolutely fail in the culture war is they don't understand how the game is being played. Conservatives focus only on the ramifications of what the left is doing. They do not focus on the strategy behind it. They do not understand that this has been a concerted effort in the United States for decades. Ever since the Frankfurt School landed here at Columbia University, this has been a concerted and focused effort in the United States for decades that started with taking over the universities, then taking over the schools, taking over the institutions, and every crazy thing that we see showing up in the culture war is the result of the left, the Marxists, the real socialists, coming in, taking over the universities, taking over the schools, taking over the institutions, training the little Marxists from the time they're 4 years old in the school system that they took over, reinforcing it through culture, through media, through news. What we see in terms of the reading and the craziness and the books and all that is the logical end result of a decades-long strategy that was implemented and now has created all these useful idiots running around on the woke left doing crazy, crazy, crazy things. They don't often even understand why they're doing those things. What the right does not understand, though, is that when they focus in on the outcome of the strategy, not only will they never actually solve the problem, but they are taking the bait that the left is setting for them. Because the left sets them up. Conservatives are very predictable. The left sets them up. They do something crazy. They know the right is going to react, because that's all the right knows how to do. The left does something crazy, the right reacts, and then the left says, ha, 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 got you. We're going to use everything you say and do against you. Okay? Exactly. Dylan Mulvaney was bait. Dylan Mulvaney is a useful idiot that they found, that they set up to get the right to react to him. And now they're going, look, they're the transphobes we always said they were. Look, they hate gay people. They're making the right more homophobic every single day. I'm sorry. The right looks more homophobic every single effing day. And they weren't. They weren't. I distinctly remember in 2020 being in Washington, D.C. for the first Million MAGA March after the election, when when all those conservatives descended on Washington and marched up Pennsylvania Avenue to the Capitol building. I was there. And at that rally, I saw like one of the Patriot Front feds. He was there and he had his Patriot Front flag, and he's obviously like, they're feds. I hope everyone knows that they're feds. But this guy at the rally started like waving his Nazi flag, and he started screaming all of this anti-gay stuff. He was just like going on a whole anti-gay sermon. And what I saw was that guy, and I have video of it somewhere, that guy got surrounded by Trump supporters. And they started chanting, Trump loves gays. Trump loves gays. Trump loves gays. Because Trump doesn't care if people are gay. Trump was like in Studio 54 back in the day. And they all know that. And so I tell you this story because they weren't The right wasn't always like this. They really weren't. In 2020, I was traveling with the Walkaway campaign. A lot of people in Walkaway are gay. There was no problem. No one cared. But because the left has kept hammering them with this over the course of a couple years, the right has gotten really effing homophobic. They're talking about they're hammering on like gay people. They're hammering on gay people having kids. Obviously, they hate all trans people. They want to eliminate all trans surgeries now. And it's like they really don't realize that they're making themselves look exactly like what the left says they are. And when they do that, the left goes, see, 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 see. And you can make this excuse all you want, but you're making yourself look like a raging asshole. Because I haven't even mentioned kids. This is the other thing the conservative right does. I haven't even mentioned kids. Do you have any idea how crazy you look when no one has said anything about kids at all, and you come in, we're just protecting the children. You are a bunch of pedophiles, and you're just trying to take our children. You are all pedophiles. We're just like no one has even mentioned kids. Do you know how insane you look? Truly. Because this is my conversation on Twitter like 18 times a day. You look like unhinged lunatics. And that is exactly what the left wants you to look like. Congratulations. You played right into their hands. You did exactly and precisely what they wanted you to. You made yourself look crazy. They will use it against you, and you didn't even contribute to the conversation at all. And you can have all the feelings you want about that, but that's the truth that no one's telling you but me. Anyway, James Lindsay understands this. And James Lindsay is trying again to tell the Christians they're going to use all of this against you. And because the Christians don't want to hear that because they think that they know everything and they've got God and all this bullshit, they're attacking James Lindsay and undermining everything James Lindsay's trying to do instead of sitting back and listening and being the reactionaries that the left wants them to be. So let's read this thread. Pride officially kicks off in 12 days. Here's a preview of a political warfare attack that's coming. Pride versus homophobic Christian nationalism will be a big theme. And by the way, guys, because I saw someone in the chat earlier said James Lindsay's not talking about conservative Christians, he's talking about Christian nationalists. No one on the left is going to make that decision, that distinction. No one in popular culture is going to make that decision, that distinction. It's not going to happen. So every single thing that the Christian nationalists do, all conservative Christians are going to be painted with that. And if you are a conservative Christian and you don't like that, then it is incumbent upon you to listen and to speak up and to make your voice louder than the Christian nationalists. This unconventional warfare narrative, ICBM, has already been launched, so you should start preparing now. Oh, hang on. There we go. Both sides of the dialectic here are fully operationally prepared. The left will attack Christian nationalism by name and rightly link it to homophobia and anti-LGBTQ hate. So here's the thing. And then he says that group is excitedly proud of those features and will be eager to be proven right. What he means by that is Christian nationalists are very proudly homophobic. They will tell you. They've been in my Twitter feed for several days now. They will literally talk to you about how they want to stone the gays. I'm not making that up. They are overtly homophobic. Now, here is the trap that conservative Christians who are not homophobic Christian nationalists walk into. Is they come into the conversation and and they don't realize that they're talking to Christian nationalists, and they go, "But I don't agree with gay lifestyle. I don't I don't agree with the gay lifestyle." That's how the conservative Christians respond. But we should love them as people, but I don't agree with the lifestyle. I don't agree with it. Do you guys see the problem there? If you're coming into a conversation with a Christian nationalist that is overtly, in the name of Christ, damning all gay people to hell, talking about them being thrown off buildings, talking about them in the most disgusting way that you can possibly talk about them just for being gay. And you, as the conservative Christian who is not the Christian nationalist, you come into the conversation and you go, I don't agree with their lifestyle at all, but maybe we should just love them as people. But I don't agree with their lifestyle, which is exactly what's always said. You look like you're siding with them. Because if you lead with, I don't I don't agree with the gay lifestyle, how do you think that's going to be interpreted by people who don't care if people are gay? And they're seeing you colluding with a Christian nationalist. You might not know it's a Christian nationalist, but you should, because they're being overtly homophobic. But you come in and you lead with, I don't agree with the lifestyle. It makes you look like you hate gay people. I'm telling you right now, you might not think that's fair. You might whine. You might complain. You might try to rationalize it. You might try to say, but Jesus told me to. And then you're going to look even more homophobic than you did before. And then you will be wrapped up with the Christian nationalists, and you did it to yourself. But let's back up and focus on James Lindsay's thread. James Lindsay's thread is specifically in regards to Christian nationalists. And he says that the woke left has set the Christian nationalists up to paint the Christian nationalists as as gay haters. And the Christian nationalists are fully and completely ready to take the bait. Excuse me. They are fully and completely ready to take the bait. Okay? And they want to. They don't care. And then you have this tertiary thing of like other Christians that are like, we just don't like the lifestyle. And then they get wrapped up with the Christian nationalists, which is exactly what the left wants. The left wants all Christians to be perceived as gay haters, and you're giving them what you want every single time that you say, I don't agree with the lifestyle. You're giving the left what they want. You're giving them the win. Guys, if you are really a Christian, you don't have to advertise your Christianity at all times. There is nothing that's compelling you to say, I don't agree with the gay lifestyle. There's no reason you need to say that. You can just zip it. In zipping it, you don't take the bait and you don't align yourself with the overtly homophobic Christian nationalist. If you really are a Christian and you really have that relationship with God and you really believe that, then God knows you don't need to announce it to the world at every opportunity to prove that you're still a Christian and you're going to denounce the gays, but you're not really going to denounce the gays because you say, I don't agree with their lifestyle, and you think that doesn't align you with gay haters. No, just zip it. Just zip it. Let's keep going. Mass polarization that moves centrist normies and moderate lefts and activates leftists while splitting the coalitions on the right, and activating reaction will follow like clockwork. Tensions will mount and trigger a Charlottesville 2.0 in the battlefield environment. So what he's saying here is that the left is setting the right up to react. This is like in War Games. Does anyone remember that movie War Games from the 80s? Does anyone? That's a great movie, by the way. We should watch that movie for movie night sometime. Matthew Broderick. Does anyone remember the movie War Games from the 80s? I know the chat's a little bit behind. How did you win? So people are saying, yes, we remember that movie. Okay. In the movie War Games from the 80s, how did you win the game Thermonuclear War? How did you win the game? You won the game by not playing. Yes, Beth. That's exactly right. The only way to win the thermonuclear war game from War Games was not to play in the first place. The only way to win is not to play. You don't play. You don't play. You don't play. You don't play. This is the same thing. When your enemy is setting you up to react because they know you're going to react to anything they do, the only way to win the game is not to play. Just opt out. You don't have to speak up. You don't have to react to them. You don't have to give them the fuel that they want. You can just leave and focus on something else. They're setting a trap. That's exactly right. If you react, they win. If you don't react, they lose. That's the game we're playing. Expect a steady media drumbeat of these narratives centered on the Christian reactionary movement many have been warning about, and expect them to take the bait 1,000%. Yes, they will. People with better sense should prepare and take measures to avoid getting caught up in the negation. That's exactly what James Lindsay's saying. Don't react. Conservative Christianity will be largely politically nullified in the process. So now notice that James Lindsay has switched from Christian nationalists to conservative Christians. How did they nullify conservative Christianity? Because the conservative Christians aligned themselves with the Christian nationalists because they didn't know what they were aligning with. Christians will be identified as homophobic or homo. The damage this is going to do to this conservative movement and Christians is astronomical, but it can be mitigated if it doesn't blindside. My assessment is that mainline Christians and conservatives have no idea this narrative ICBM is about to land squarely in the middle of their camp. No, they don't. And I'm going to prove that later. Others are eager for it and want the excuse to play the dialectical game that has been set for them. It's already incoming. It's already started. Matt Walsh is doing the left's dirty work like no one has ever done the left's dirty work before. The reaction side of this dynamic has already been working diligently to nullify me and all political warfare analysis as homo among conservatives on this issue. Thoughts and prayers, I guess. And then we have Dave Rubin, who doesn't understand this either, to be honest about it. So is it if you don't react, they will escalate until you do? Maybe. Or, I mean, you don't have to react to roll out a proactive strategy of your own. I'm not prepared to talk about that today, but there's a difference between reacting to what someone else is doing and rolling out a proactive strategy of your own. Okay? That's another story for another day. We're not going to talk about that right now, but those are different. So no, it's the left will always continue to escalate. Again, the four goals of the woke left are gain as much power as possible, destabilize the system, attack capitalism, usher in their Marxist utopia. They will always escalate. They will always push for more power. The only way is to opt out of the game that they're playing by not reacting to them and playing your own game instead. That's really the key. Play a different game. Make the left react to you. Just play a different game. The problem with the right is the right doesn't want to play a different game. The right doesn't know how to strategize. The right doesn't know how to do long-term thinking. The right only wants to play the game that the left is asking them to play. I make this analogy in my book, Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. You can find the link below to buy it. But I make this analogy in my book. I say, if the devil came down to earth and the devil said to you, or up to earth, I suppose, if the devil came to earth and the devil said to you, we're going to play a game and I get to set all the rules of the game and I get to change the rules of the game anytime I want to change the rules of the game. And if you lose the game, you're coming to hell with me. But if you win the game, then you get to stay here or go to heaven or whatever. So the devil has told you, the devil is setting the rules of the game. You're playing on the devil's playing field. The devil can change the rules of the game at any time that they want to change the rules of the game because it's their game. And if you lose the game that you're playing with the devil, you're going to hell for all eternity. Damnation. Is that a game you're going to play? Are you going to agree to the rules of that game? That is quite literally what the conservative right is doing every single time they react to the left. Every single time they react, they are agreeing to the rules that the devil has set, that the devil will change at any time. They are doing it on the devil's playing field. And when they lose, they're going to hell with the devil, but it's inevitable that they'll lose because the devil is the one that controls all the mechanisms. Instead, they could say, nope, not interested. And they could go play their own game on their own field and make the devil come over to them. And then they say, we set the rules of the game over here. We can change the rules whenever we want to change them. That's the game you need to be playing. Don't play their game, play your own. And of course, this pissed off the Christian nationalists, the conservative Christians. I have no idea who this guy is, but he's got such a ridiculous reactionary thread to James Lindsay that I had to show it to you. So this is a general kind of conservative Christian response to what James Lindsay is telling them, and James Lindsay is giving them really good advice. Beth. That's so nice, Beth. Thank you. Oh my God. Beth, queen of the chat. Perpetual queen of the chat goes to Beth. There's only one other perpetual king of the chat, and that is King Peter of the chat. Beth has now ascended to perpetual queen of the chat status. Also because, not just because of a $400 super chat, by the way. Beth is also based and amazing. And guys, by the way, what it means to be a king or the queen of the chat is that you can ignore my rules and you can say and do whatever you want and I will never ban you or block you. You have carte blanche to do whatever you want. Oh my God, Beth. Thank you. Beth says, this is for sharing the best advice I've heard from anyone. Put this towards attending the next socialist event. We may not agree on everything, but I have mad respect for you regardless. Thank you, Beth. I really do appreciate it. And I know you won't disrespect my rules, but you can, Beth. All hail Queen Beth. Yes. Wow. Things I didn't expect today. Thank you. I'm going to put that towards advertising. Or maybe, or to do the event. Either way, I will reinvest Beth's money well. I promise. All right. Now that we're all teed up with capitalism, Autumn, I know you hate capitalism, but sometimes, some of us like it. Flowers for Beth. Now let's hear the Christian reaction. For months, my friends have been asking me, what's wrong with James Lindsay? Why is he acting so strange? First of all, no, they haven't. No one has been asking you that, bro. Come on. No, 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 no. I've been saying I don't really know. James Lindsay refuses to even have a conversation with me. But I finally have some thoughts to share a thread on what's wrong with James. The first thing to understand about where James's head is at right now is that he believes conservative Christianity is about to be largely politically nullified in the United States. And he's correct. This isn't a long-term prediction. James has said repeatedly the destruction of conservative Christian influence is going to happen in a massive attack by the left over the coming summer. And he's correct. James compares the attack on conservative Christianity in the US to an ICBM that has already been launched and will hit within a matter of weeks, if not days. And he's correct. The second thing to understand about James is that he believes the content of the coming attack is a forced dichotomy between Christian nationalist, unapologetic homophobia and the LGBTQ agenda, which he describes as transing kids. Also correct. The idea is that the left is looking for a repeat of George Floyd's summer of 2020, except this time, instead of pitting supposedly violent cops against blacks, it will pit supposedly not supposedly homophobic Christians, overtly homophobic Christians. But it will pit supposedly homophobic Christian nationalists against trans people, and by supposedly he means overtly homophobic. James believes that in this confrontation between the LGBTQ movement and what he calls homophobic Christian nationalism, the result will be violence that will take innocent lives as Charlottesville 2.0 in the battle of the environment. Well, maybe, maybe not. It doesn't have to be Charlottesville. It doesn't have to be George Floyd to actually make a significant cultural impact. But could it be? Yeah, I think trans Floyd, drag Floyd is absolutely going to happen. I think it's only a matter of time. This lethal violence by homophobic Christian nationalism is what the left hopes to provoke. This will be used as an excuse for the destruction of conservative Christian political power in America. Correct. Is DeSantis on now? We're going to be talking about DeSantis a little bit. I've got DeSantis stuff. The third thing to understand is James doesn't think identifying Christian nationalists with homophobia and anti-LGBTQ hate is unfair, because it's not unfair. James is with the left on this. James is a leftist. Oh, Twitter Spaces is no longer available. So, guys, James Lindsay is a leftist because he correctly points out that Christian nationalists are homophobic douchebags. He says they rightly identify Christian nationalists with anti-LGBT hate. Well, that's funny. I mean, they all think I'm a lesbian, and my feed has reflected that for the past couple days. Don't take the term Christian nationalism too seriously here. James doesn't follow theoretical debates on the right. When asked who the Christian nationalist leaders are, he really doesn't know. Well, no, he does know. In fact, he overtly knows Andrew Torba, absolutely. William Wolf, absolutely. William Wolf, by the way, I am absolutely convinced that William Wolf is absolutely going to get caught in a hotel room with an underage boy someday. No one be surprised when that happens. William Wolf is projecting his obvious repressed gay angst, and he's going to wind up in a hotel room on the floor with a nose full of blow with an underage boy someday. It's a prediction. I could be wrong. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I'm just saying he's going to have an Andrew Gilliam moment. He is. Nick Fuentes would also be on that list, if I'm honest about it. There are others too. In fact, James seems to think the entire national conservative movement, including Jews like me, as well as anti-Catholic, anti-nationalists like Adrian, are all Christian nationalists in some broad sense. Well, oh, he did call them out by name. Oh, how funny. Reading this as sympathetically as I can, I think James is using the term Christian nationalism to mean anyone who thinks marriage is between a man and a woman. Yes, that's overtly homophobic. and that trans and kids. So this jackass, check this out. This is the reaction of the conservative Christian right to James Lindsay's perfect and beautiful warning about the left is trying to get you to react, assholes. The conservative Christians are like, James Lindsay is a leftist and he wants to trans your kids. James Lindsay thinks there's nothing wrong with transing your kids. And James Lindsay, because he's a leftist, he just hates that we don't want to trans kids. Do you want to trans kids? James, are you a pedophile? Are you a groomer, James? I mean, like, it is completely lost on these people that James Lindsay quite literally coined the term groomer. It is completely lost on these people that he literally coined the effing term groomer. And they're like, James Lindsay hates Christians because we just want to stop the transing of children. We just want to save the children. Why does James Lindsay want all the kids trans? Do you guys know now, for the Christians and the conservatives who were upset with me earlier? Do you guys understand now why you look crazy every time someone talks about gay people and trans people and says, I don't mind if people are trans or gay, and you bust into the conversation with, what about the children? You look insane, okay? You look insane. It's these groups that James is loosely calling conservative Christianity. They're the ones James says the left is rightly accusing of homophobia and anti-LGBTQ hate. I mean, has anyone looked at Andrew Torba's posts on Gab? Because I promise you, if you look at Andrew Torba's posts on Gab, you're going to see quite clearly that Andrew Torba doesn't like the gays, okay? If you go on Gab at all, you're going to see a whole lot of people who don't like the gays. I promise you. They don't like the Jews either, by the way. They really hate the Jews. And they're the ones who James believes will be politically nullified this summer. I actually agree with James on some things here. I agree that the LGBT community is intentionally being used by some on the woke left as a blunt instrument to smash conservative Christianity and Orthodox Judaism in America. These elements on the woke left understand that there's only so far that conservative Christians and Orthodox Christians can bend. Beyond that point, Christians and Jews have no choice but to make a stand and fight back politically. That point has already been reached. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where you enter the game on the left's playing field, playing by the rules the left has set for you, that the left can change at any time. This is where you go up to them and says, yes, devil, yes, I would like to play your game by your rules, and if I lose, I am damned for all eternity. Every single effing time that conservative Christians are like, we've been pushed too far, you are saying that you are reacting to what the left is doing and that you are entering the left's playing field and that you're going to play by the left's rules and you really expect to win. That is stupid. It's stupid. I'm sorry. It's stupid. Vision pass massive tax incentive for married single households, even more tax incentives for raising children in two-parent households, passive resistance to Marxism against Marxism. You know what? If we're going to have taxes, fine. If we have to have taxes, you know what I would like to do? I would like to just eliminate taxes altogether. Can we just eliminate taxes? Can we just do that? That would solve all the problems and would be the ultimate resistance to Marxism is to eliminate taxes. We would all be better off. We'd all be happier. Does an attack need to be real or framed that way? Well, if you're reacting to the attack as though it's real, then it's real. If you are reacting to a false attack, you've made it real in your reaction to it. And the left's argument has in fact been framed so that by defending traditional Christian and Jewish marriage or by opposing the transing of children, again, because it's only the conservative Christians and the Jews that are against transing the kids, that's it. By opposing the transition of children, Christians and Jews will, in the eyes of the left, look like people consumed by homophobia and anti-LGBTQ hate. Well, no, that's not why. It's because you are aligning with people who are overtly homophobic. Shauna says, just wait, the Christian nationalists will demand that Christians stop following the Daily Wire because of Ben Shapiroism to Old Testament. Yes, they will. They hate Ben Shapiro. The Christian nationalists are overtly anti-Semites. They're anti-Semitic. Like, Yoram doesn't understand this yet, apparently, but I promise you that I have been called a Jew as an insult 18 ways from Sunday on Twitter in the last 3 days. The Christian nationalists are overtly anti-Semitic. Nick Fuentes is overtly anti-Semitic. Andrew Torba is overtly anti-Semitic. They all hate Ben Shapiro. They hate the Daily Wire. The fact that this guy hasn't figured that out yet just tells you that this guy is not as smart as he thinks he is. And as James says, some on the left have been primed to go after conservative Christianity and Orthodox Judaism as if these old religious communities are an evil that must be destroyed. Well, no, that's not actually what he's talking about at all. Congratulations, you're not very smart. Assuming all this is right, no, it's not. I think I can take a stab at answering the question I've been asked by so many friends. He hasn't been asked this by anyone, he's making that up. On both the right and the left. What is wrong with James? The key to answering that question is recognizing that James really believes that the woke left is correct when they say that the political mobilization of conservative Christians and Jews is motivated by homophobia and anti-LGBTQ hate. Already wrong. And that's why James has spent recent months attacking anyone that he thinks might be able to politically mobilize Christian conservatives and Jews on issues such as transing children. This guy literally thinks that James Lindsay is only doing this because James Lindsay wants to trans the children. He thinks we're all anti-LGBTQ hate, just like the left does. But it's actually worse than that. James is rapidly losing a conservative Christian and Jewish audience that he once thought were going to be his allies. Well, that's your fault for lying about him. This has to be painful and I feel bad for him. No, bro. No. I've been trying desperately to get you assholes to leave me alone and out yourself so I can block you on Twitter for 2 effing years. I'm not talking about all Christians and all Jews. I'm talking about assholes like this. I'm guessing that's where these ugly online explosions come from. But you might ask, what does James expect conservative Christians and Jews to do? Everyone keeps saying that in the war on woke, James is the general. If so, then what instructions does the general have for us conservatives? I've already explained this. Play your own effing game. Come up with a proactive strategy. Act like fully functioning adults. I know you weren't asking me this question, but if I was asked this question, I would say, play your own game. Come up with a proactive strategy. Come up with a vision. Come up with something that has nothing to do with what the left is doing. Stop reacting to the left. Come up with your own effing plan. Present it to the American people. Stop shitting on gay people. Stop shitting on adult trans people. Stop equating gay people and trans people and drag queens with being pedophiles. I don't know. Maybe do something that could get you some votes. That would be what I would do. Am I crazy? Philip said, I met the trans Floyd attack. Okay, so let me go back, Philip. Philip said, does an attack need to be real or framed that way? I met the trans Floyd attack. Well, they're going to, if there is any instance in which a drag queen or a trans person gets murdered by a conservative, they are going to frame it as trans Floyd. So it doesn't matter. It could be like, let's say, because, okay, there are conservatives who like trans people. I hope people know that. And by like, I mean really like. really, really like in the bedroom, like, do you guys know what I'm saying? Okay, yeah, there are absolutely conservatives who like trans people. Let's say you have a conservative stooping a trans person, okay? Which is not out of the realm of possibility at all. And something goes wrong. There is a fight of some sort. There is an altercation. Now, they were engaged, not engaged to be married, but engaged. They were engaged in shenanigans, and there was no animosity towards the transness of the person because they were engaged in shenanigans. But something happened to make the whole thing go awry, and the trans person ended up getting killed by the conservative who was stooping them a moment ago, okay? It's not an anti-trans attack because they're not against trans people. Something else happened. That would absolutely be framed as a trans Floyd attack, okay? Because you've got a conservative and you've got a trans person, and one has harmed the other. It has nothing to do with the person being trans at all. Maybe it was like a drug deal that has gone wrong. Maybe that William Wolf guy was like buying coke off the trans person that he was stooping in the hotel room. Like, I don't know. Something else went wrong, but you got a conservative that has caused harm to a trans person. That will absolutely be your trans Floyd incident. Does that make sense? That might have been on way off of left field where you guys didn't think I was going to go with that. Of course, it's official. Ron DeSantis has been running for president forever. Chicanery. That's another good word. Anyway. James's answer is quite clear. What's going to happen this summer is that centrist moderates and normies are going to move to the left in order to protect themselves. In other words, most people will follow James by moving to the left. Again, he's arguing that James Lindsay is a leftist. Instead of the conservative Christians following the good advice that James has for them, they're like, James is a leftist that just wants all the children transed. It's bullshit, guys. Meanwhile, the Christian reactionary movement, i.e. Christian nationalists and other conservatives, will 100% take the bait that will be kept organizing politically and will consequently be annihilated by a greatly enlarged left. True. True, 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 true. Read that last sentence again. It contains the marching orders that conservatives have received from General James. People with better sense should prepare and take measures to avoid getting caught up in the negation. And he keeps going on and on and on. But my point here, and I just don't feel like reading the rest of his thread. My point here is that James Lindsay has very clearly laid out what's going on. And conservative Christians, because they're caught in their feelings don't care about your facts when you are a conservative Christian or a Jew, as Yoram is, a conservative Jew. They're all up in their fifis. And they're not listening to what is being said at all. Nope, you can't, because that is not what queer theory is about. Come to Socialism Saturday and you will learn what queer theory is about. Emphasize says it's a trap. The right is flooding the market with those stocks, driving down the price for the left. Another one of the left's fortifying tactics. I don't know what stocks you're talking about, Emphasize, but I mean, generally speaking, yeah, I think you're probably right on that one. Yep. No one blocked Autumn, right? I know Autumn was being kind of a pain in the ass, but no one blocked her, right? I don't want to block Autumn. Anyway, but that's not the only person who is taking the bait. Does anyone else want to guess who is perfectly walking into the trap that the left is setting for them? Does anyone in the chat want to take a shot in the dark at who else is perfectly walking into the trap that the left is setting for them? Mount that like button for me, guys. While we're getting some guesses, mounting the like button lets other people to know to join us on the stream here today. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. Well, yes, Yay has fallen into the trap. Yes. Allie Beth Stuckey, I saw her name. Allie Beth Stuckey always falls into the trap. She's just not the brightest crayon in the box. The conservative cunt Bobby is not the brightest crayon in the box. Yeah, I said it. Matt Walsh! We can always rely on Matt Walsh to fall right into the damn trap. Actually, let's look at no, that's a different one. Oh, Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh, Matt Walsh, Matt Walsh. Guys, Matt Walsh is leading the conservative right off the cliff. He is the Pied Piper of driving the conservative right off the cliff that the left is just hoping they're going to go for. There is no bigger like supporter of the woke left and their agenda than Matt Walsh. No one. And he's been tweeting up a storm today, per usual, but I want to talk about this specific tweet. Trans activists have gotten everything they want by crying hysterically and using emotional manipulation. They are now running into a faction of the right that doesn't give a shit about their theatrics or their feelings. They don't know what to do about it. They're panicked. Bro. You know how I talked earlier about the fact that the conservative right does not understand that they are focusing on the outcome of the problem. The hysterical leftists, the ones with the crazy hair, the ones that are always screaming and complaining and protesting, they are the outcome of the problem. They are not the cause of the problem. The cause of the problem is Marxists coming to America as part of the Frankfurt School, setting up shop at Columbia University, creating Teachers College at Columbia University, and then proceeding to send all of their teachers into the schools all over the country. First, they took over the universities, then they took over the public schools. And they took over the public schools a long ass time ago. But they really started in earnest taking over, and really systematizing all their bullshit probably about 15 years ago, okay? This has been going on a long time. They took over all the colleges of education. The colleges of education are what train the teachers. The teachers are the ones that go into the public schools. So you guys see how this works? Starts with Frankfurt School, takes over Columbia University. Columbia University has a school of education called Teachers College. Teachers College at Columbia University produces the most Marxist teachers in the country. Okay? So that was like their home base. You take over the college, then you create the school of education. The school of education is where the teachers are trained. The teachers then graduate from the universities and they go in to the public schools and the private schools and the charter schools, but the public schools are the ones we care about right now. And by the way, they didn't just take over Columbia. That's just where they started. You take over the colleges, you take over the schools of education. When you take over the schools of education, you produce the teachers. The teachers then go into the public schools. When the teachers start to populate out into the public schools, and this takes decades, okay? Decades. This is not a year or two. This is not 10 years. Decades of doing this, okay? Eventually, you reach a critical mass of Marxist-trained teachers in the public schools who start indoctrinating your little darlings into the woke ideology starting in kindergarten. This hit, I think, about 15 years ago, okay? That's when they started getting their critical mass. was about 15 years ago. And I say that because in these school districts that I've looked into, they started formalizing equity plans as a formal department, a formal report around 2010, 2011, 2011, 2012. And it's not that they weren't doing equity before that. They were, but they started formalizing it in terms of an official department with official staff positions around 10 to 15 years ago. Then we're really starting to cook. Okay. So now not only do you have all your little darlings being taught by the Marxist trained teachers, you also have a formalized equity department within the school district that is constantly reinforcing and feeding itself. That is the cause of the problem. That is where we should all be focused. What Matt Walsh is talking about, because he's not thinking clearly and he's just trying to grift on the issue to make money. What Matt Walsh is talking about is the outcome of taking over the schools and producing in the schools all these useful idiots that are running around with the crazy hair going to protests and screaming about things. Those are the people who are crying hysterically. Those are the people who are using emotional manipulation. But they are not the drivers of the problem. They are the product of the problem. They are the product of it. Does everyone see the difference between the cause of the problem and the product of the problem? If you are constantly focusing on the product of the problem rather than the cause of the problem, you will never fix the problem. It's like say you got a really big tree, right? You got that really big tree in your backyard that's been there forever. The cause of the problem are the roots of the tree. The roots that are underground that you can't see, the sprawling structures. If you ever pull that tree out of the ground, you're going to see all these roots like everywhere. The roots are the problem, okay? The leaves on the tree are the product of the problem. Not that trees are a problem, but you understand the analogy. Matt Walsh is focused on the leaves on the tree. He is not focused on the root cause of the damn problem. And because he is focused on the leaves of the tree, he is enforcing exactly the wrong effing strategy. Everything that Matt Walsh is advising conservatives to do is going to make the problem worse. Not only because he's advising conservatives to play the left's ball game on the left's playing field with the left's rules that the left has set, and the left can change at any time. And Matt Walsh is saying, go play the left's game. It worked for the left. Why wouldn't it work for us? Well, the reason, Matt, that it's not going to work for you is it is the left's game. The only way to win the game is not to play. But even more than that, he's not focusing on what the real problem is. It's the symptoms. It's the same thing with the book bans, okay? All these ridiculous book bans in schools. Do you guys know they're producing new books constantly? They never stop producing these new books with more and graphic sex scenes than the books before. So you're focusing all this time and all this energy on getting these books out of school libraries because everything will be solved if we get the books out of school libraries. Well, as soon as you get that book out of the school library, they're going to replace it with 5 more. And if you get, and then you have to figure out what the names of those books are. And then you have to figure out how to get those books out of the school library and have to do the whole rigmarole again. And when you get those 5 books out of the library, they're going to replace it with 10 more. That's the game you're playing. The left has you. The left has you in a never-ending circle chasing your own goddamn tail. And it's all because you're focusing on the outcome of the problem, the symptom, the books, rather than the root cause of the problem, which is the policies and the curriculum and the teacher education training, which will never be solved for. The schools are gone. The only thing that can happen is to defund the government schools. That's it. That is it. That is the only solution. Herbert Marcuse came to Columbia University in 1933 or 1934 to escape Nazi Germany. Exactly. Frankfurt School, zooming in to New York. So Matt Walsh is wrong. Matt Walsh is going to make the problem worse. Matt Walsh telling conservatives to get mean, to play the left's game, to use crying hysterics and emotional manipulation. And the left is going to be like, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Matt, for telling us, for telling your people to do exactly what we wanted them to do. Matt Walsh has no idea what a gift he's giving to leftists right now, because Matt Walsh doesn't care about solving the problem. Matt Walsh only cares about exacerbating the problem so that Matt Walsh can make more money and maintain his status or get more status. He doesn't care about fixing the problem. He's just using it, and that's why he is giving you information and ideas that are going to make the problem worse. Because if Matt Walsh makes the problem worse, Matt Walsh makes more money, honey. That's how the game is played, guys. That is why you do not listen to people who profit off of there being a problem. All right. Let's not do that today. Well, Ron DeSantis, okay. We did a lot of that was tough. That was a lot of stuff, okay? But Ron DeSantis has announced that he's running for president. Do you guys want to do a little bit of dessert? Can we do a little bit of dessert? Okay. We did the hard part of the stream. Thank you guys for hanging out. Ron DeSantis has announced that he's running for president. Officially, do they have the video? Let's see. Do they have the actual video? I've got this this live thing up from Axios. We feel it in our bones. The U.S. is going in the wrong direction. Twitter Spaces is interrupted. Let's watch the video. Ron. Let's see what he had to say. I'm running for president to lead our great American comeback.
Our border is a disaster. Crime infests our cities. The federal government makes it harder for families to make ends meet, and the president flounders. But decline is a choice. Success is attainable, and freedom is worth fighting for. Righting the ship requires restoring sanity to our society, normalcy to our communities, and integrity to our institutions. Truth must be our foundation, and common sense can no longer be an uncommon virtue. In Florida, we proved that it can be done. We chose facts over fear, education over indoctrination, law and order over rioting and disorder. We held the line when freedom hung in the balance. We showed that we can and must revitalize America. We need the courage to lead and the strength to win. I'm Ron DeSantis, and I'm running for president to lead our great American comeback.
Why did it sound like Ron DeSantis was having trouble saying his own name? I'm Ron DeSantis. He had a weird accent with his name. All right. So here's what I think about this. I think Trump's going to win the nomination. Why is my hat crooked? Huh. I think Trump's going to win the nomination. I don't think DeSantis has a chance in hell of winning the nomination. But at least it's interesting. I'm going to be honest. I am continuing to get like an ickier vibe about Ron DeSantis. Like he strikes me as like a little bit of a statist and an authoritarian. And it's just like, there's something that's too perfect about this rise There's something that seems really kind of manufactured. I do not like what he did with Disney. I think that I've been very clear on that. I don't want to rehash that again. But there's something that rubs me the wrong way about Ron DeSantis. Listen, I'm not voting for any Republican except Vivek. Vivek is the only really person that would have any shot at getting my vote. So I don't really have, like, not my monkeys, not my circus. I'm going to talk about it because, like, what else would I do? But do you know what I want to do for a little bit of dessert? Well, first of all, we have to get the left reaction to Ron DeSantis running for president. And the left reaction is Black people should be afraid. This is from The Root. Let's just take it. Should Black people be afraid now that Ron DeSantis plans to announce his presidential bid? DeSantis' governorship, which started in 2019, has featured racist attacks on critical race theory, diversity initiative, and anti-trans legislation and policies that only made COVID-19 worse. Now he plans on taking his white supremacist rhetoric to the national stage by making a 2024 presidential bid for the White House. Musk seemingly confirmed the news, blah, blah, blah. The announcement coincides with high-end fundraisers, but here we go. If DeSantis runs against Biden in 2024, then DeSantis will win easily. He doesn't even need to campaign. I don't know about that. I don't think that's true. Did Elon Musk say that? Wow, that's quite a prediction, Elon. But what does all this mean for Black and brown people in the LGBT community? The answer? It can't be good. The GOP is unabashedly the party of white supremacy and hate. DeSantis, like his Republican peers, has no problem expressing his hatred of Black people. The governor has done everything in his power to erase Black history, rescind voting rights, and even praised Jordan Neely's killer. DeSantis in the Oval Office is downright dangerous for Black folk, with DeSantis and Trump as the frontrunners for the Republican nomination. Things keep going from bad to worse. Well, that's one perspective. But there's another perspective that I want to consider. And this, guys, is where we get to dessert. Because as I do, I checked our favorite narcissist YouTube channel today. Our favorite narcissist is HG Tutor. He is a diagnosed narcissistic psychopath who explains narcissism on his YouTube channel, and I love it more than anything else when HG Tutor covers issues of American politics and woke culture. And so, because usually he covers Meghan Markle, he talks about Meghan Markle 18 times a day. I don't know how he keeps his sanity. But I logged on to HG Tutor's channel today and I saw, I swear I almost had an orgasm. He has a video about DeSantis and Musk. And Ron DeSantis appears to be cuddling with Elon Musk, which is, interesting. And so I thought that we could get the narcissistic take on what's going on with DeSantis and Musk. Does everyone want to enjoy that with us? And I want to hear what he has to say about it. I have not listened to this video yet, but I was very excited when he put it up. I was like, oh my God. Let's celebrate Ron DeSantis at long last, entering the presidential race that we all knew he was going to enter by getting the take of our favorite narcissistic psychopath on the situation.
DeSantis and Musk cuddle up. How cozy. I have explained to you that...
Hang on. Nick says, did HG Tutor ever say if Steven Crowder... Well, okay, so here's why I keep checking his channel every day, because HG Tutor did say that Steven Crowder was a narcissist, But he won't say what type of narcissist he is. I keep waiting for the update to the Steven Crowder playlist saying what specific type of narcissist he is and how HG Tudor came to that conclusion. Because I don't actually agree with him on this. I don't think Steven Crowder is a narcissist. Steven Crowder can be a dick, but I don't think he's a narcissist. And I want to know I want to hear the reasoning behind it, because I'm sure HG Tudor is probably right. But no, he hasn't updated it yet. So I keep checking back. Anyway.
When narcissists come together, there can sometimes be an almighty collision. Sparks fly, there's an explosion. I've talked about this in the 2 videos, When Narcissists Collide, parts 1 and 2, giving you a run-through of certain categories, sub-schools, of narcissists and how they interact with others in a social setting, in a familial setting, in a romantic setting, in a work setting. There are other instances where 2 narcissists can
he thinks DeSantis
together.
and Musk are narcissists.
In other instances,
okay, I got it.
You get what's called narcissistic cementation, where the 2 bond together. They become like 2 orbiting stars, fulfilling one another's need. And I've given you examples of where that has occurred in romantic settings.
Like Charles and Camilla.
Hillary and Bill Clinton being an example of that, and within the fictional realm, Francis Urquhart and his wife, or if you prefer the American version, Francis and Claire Underwood. But what about in a business or political setting? Might there be an instance of narcissistic cementation occurring there? Well, the New York Times reports DeSantis set to announce 2024 run on Twitter with Elon Musk. So along come 2 narcissists, different types, but narcissists nevertheless. Adding a twist to the beginning of his presidential campaign, the Florida governor is expected to appear on a live...
Hang on. Sorry, interrupting the narcissist. It's very rude of me. Jan, I know this is off topic, but I just got my trunk mug for my husband. Oh my God. So guys, Jan is talking about, I hope it came out good, Jan. I would love to see a picture of it. I haven't actually seen a picture of it in real life. Jan is talking about, if you go to my merch store, unwokeart.com, where she's talking about the Golden Trump mug, which is available in the merch. I might, you know what? The Golden Trump mug is so popular that I might actually just make it a permanent item in the store. I don't know. But right now, it's for limited time only that you can get the Golden Trump mug, and it has the design on it that I did that says Trump. Well, it doesn't say Trump's name, but it says always get the last laugh with Trump laughing, and it looks great. And it's very popular, and I'm really excited that people like the Golden Trump. But you can also get the Trump design on other things. You get on t-shirts, magnets, sticker. You can get a nice G-Clay print. But yeah, guys, get your Golden Trump while you still can. All right, back to the narcissist. It was very rude for me to interrupt him. Very rude.
Audio conversation with Mr. Musk, the social platform's owner, on Wednesday evening. Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida is planning to announce the start of his 2024 presidential campaign on Wednesday in a live audio conversation on Twitter with Elon Musk, the platform's polarizing owner, according to people with knowledge of his plans. Okay, so pausing there, what's happening? Well, DeSantis needs to assert control over as many people as possible for the purpose of his political ambitions. He's not as widely known as his competitor, former President Donald J. Trump, and he needs to increase his publicity. Therefore, what better way than with a kiss, kiss, bang, bang of partnering up with someone who is globally recognized, Elon Musk, but also just happens to have a rather large social media platform. Ka-ching. Thus, for DeSantis, it makes sense because it is a conduit to enable him to assert control over other people. And his narcissism can put to one side the fact that Elon Musk is a little bit of a polarizing character, that he can be somewhat maverick in his behaviors.
Well, but Elon Musk is... I don't think it matters to Ron DeSantis that Elon Musk is a polarizing character, which is, I think, a nice way to put it. But like, because Ron DeSantis wants the audience that loves Elon Musk, that loves everything that Elon Musk is doing, that thinks Elon Musk is great. I mean, well, actually, I don't know if that's true anymore though, because of this new Twitter CEO. Like, that new Twitter CEO is kind of throwing a wrench into things. I don't trust that new Twitter CEO, by the way, Linda. I don't trust her at all. She's way too produced. Like, it's like you can tell that she's been through like NLP programming, neuro-linguistic programming training. She just like she talks in a way that's very produced. She's obviously had a lot of training on how to be a good how to do good PR and a lot of leadership training, all this stuff. And the reason, and it's just like she's way too overly produced for me, and I don't trust her. Don't trust her at all. I do not trust people who are that overly produced. Well, Elena, HG Tudor says that Elon Musk is a narcissist. I don't know. I don't know that I have an opinion on that. I haven't actually listened to his full thoughts on it, so I don't know exactly the rationale behind it. But I don't know. One of the narcissists I had in my life was an autist as well, and I didn't realize he was a narcissist until much later, because I was like, "Oh, he's autistic. It's just the autism." No, it wasn't just the autism. He was a narcissist. So I think you can, like, it can be both. I don't know.
What about the situation for Elon Musk? What draws him in? Well, of course, there's an opportunity for him to be able to have a conversation about politics, thus enabling him to assert control over lots of people by getting involved in the presidential race. Evidently, he's not going to throw his own hat into the ring, but like so many narcissists,
Musk would never
he
do
wants
that.
to be seen as a kingmaker. And therefore, it appeals to him to cozy up with Mr. DeSantis and allow him that platform. By doing, of course, by way of a conversation, not just saying, okay, Ron, away you go, but rather you and I are going to have a sit down and a chin wag.
A chin wag.
And thus, you have the cementation on this occasion because it caters for both their needs.
I kind of do wonder, like, what is the appeal of why did Ron DeSantis announce this great presidential run on Twitter? Is Ron DeSantis planning on being the Twitter president? Is Ron DeSantis planning on riding the Twitterati into the White House? I mean, does Ron DeSantis realize that Twitter only influences like, significantly less than like 5% of the country? Only 2% of the country even use Twitter in any sort of like active way. And most of those people are not involved in political Twitter. I mean, I do wonder what the logic was. But I mean, can you even say that Ron DeSantis announced on Twitter? Because, I mean, first of all, Ron DeSantis has been milling around New Hampshire for a while now, so obviously he was running for president. I don't think this is not a surprise to anyone. He was at the Red Arrow Diner in Manchester like last week. The Red Arrow Diner is one of those diners in Manchester that it was one of those diners that like all the politicians go to. They have the whole wall of the presidential candidates and all that stuff. Ron DeSantis was there last week. I know because I saw people posting about it on Facebook. And so like it was no secret he was running. This wasn't even a big announcement. Like his wife posted a video on Twitter yesterday that basically said he was running. So I don't know why he would choose a Twitter space to do his first big thing. And obviously that has now backfired since Twitter crashed. But that is weird to me. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. And I mean, maybe this is his maybe this is Ron DeSantis's way of winning over the MAGA folk, like the MAGA Twitter. I guess we'll see.
Mr. DeSantis' entry into the Republican primary race against former President Donald Trump has been widely expected. But the decision to do so with Mr. Musk adds a surprising element and gives Mr. DeSantis access to a large audience online, residual benefit, means of control.
What do they
The
say,
event on
150,000?
Twitter Spaces, which is planned for 6 p.m. Eastern, injects a level of risk into a rollout that is expected to be carefully scripted and ensures that Mr. DeSantis' first impression as a presidential candidate will be aligning himself with Mr. Musk, an eccentric businessman who is ranked at times as the world's richest man. One challenge for Mr. DeSantis as he enters the 2024 race will be competing for attention with Mr. Trump, who for decades...
You know what's funny in kind of like staring at this picture of Elon Musk, I'm realizing that the narcissist autist who I referenced earlier, he effing looks like Elon Musk. He really does. In some ways, not in all ways, but like they have the same characters in their face. I don't know if that's an autist thing or a narcissist thing. I have no idea, but Cooler King says it's because Trump doesn't want to... Oh! You know what, Cooler King? I think you might be right about that. Really good point. I hadn't thought of that. That's a great point. So Ron DeSantis feels like he's going to have the Twitter playground all to himself because Trump can't use Twitter because of Truth Social. Fair point, well made. Thank you for the super chat, Cooler King. I agree, Sin. I think that is a very bad strategy for Trump. But Trump is also contractually obligated.
Has shown a knack for commandeering the limelight. Mr. Trump's aides have signaled for months that he plans to return to Twitter sooner rather than later.
Really?
Mr. Musk
Where are they signaling that?
already lifted the ban on the former president that was imposed when Twitter was a public.
I hadn't heard that. Has anyone heard that Trump is planning on returning to Twitter? Huh. That'd be fun. That would make Twitter a lot more fun.
Company. In addition to his Twitter event, Mr. DeSantis is expected to appear on Wednesday evening on Fox News in an interview.
I got 3 Trump retweets when he was on Twitter. I'm very proud of those Trump retweets. It was always fun to get retweeted by Trump. If you guys did anyone have that experience of getting retweeted by Donald Trump and then all of a sudden your timeline is just fucking dead? Thems were the days.
With Trey Gowdy, a former congressman from South Carolina, according to the network. A super PAC backing Mr. Trump mocked the plans. This is one of the most out-of-touch campaign launches in modern history, said Caroline Leavitt, a spokeswoman for Make America Great Again, the pro-Trump group. The only thing less relatable...
Wait. Caroline Leavitt is a spokesperson for Caroline Leavitt was the woman who ran for Congress in my congressional district, the 23-year-old blonde girl. Caroline Leavitt is working for Trump now? Hang on a second. I'm sorry, I gotta look this up. Caroline Leavitt, I know, follows me on Twitter. I didn't know she was working for Trump. Hang on. Caroline Leavitt. You might be pissed off because I didn't follow her or something, but... Why can't I find her? Did I not spell her name correctly? Hang on. Did Caroline Leavitt block me? Caroline Leavitt might have blocked me on Twitter. That would be fucking hilarious. No, she's still Yes! Fucking Caroline Leavitt is a spokesperson now for MAGA War Room Inc. Holy shit. All right, Caroline. All right. Good for you. All right. ZE Hubs, thank you for the super chat. It's worth mentioning that an aggressive amount of content creators just got banned on Truth. Why are people getting banned on Truth Social? What is the logic behind that? I had no idea. I wasn't paying attention. Caroline Leavitt still does follow me on Twitter, by the way. I'm gonna slide into Caroline Leavitt's DMs and be like, Caroline, I know I was quite a bitch to you when you were running for Congress, but can we make nice now? I don't know. I don't actually want anything from Caroline. I just think it's funny.
America Great Again, the pro-Trump group. The only thing less relatable than a niche campaign launch on Twitter is DeSantis' after party at the Uber Elite Four Seasons Resort in Miami. Mr. Musk said at an event with the Wall Street Journal on Tuesday that he was not formally throwing his support behind Mr. DeSantis or any other Republican, hedging his bets for the purposes there of asserting control. On Monday, he retweeted a video of the presidential kickoff event for Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, another Republican contender. Under Mr. Musk, Twitter has cultivated a more Republican audience. This month, Tucker Carlson, the fired former Fox News star, announced he would host his popular show on Twitter.
By the way, do you know why Tucker Carlson is doing that? I heard I heard, and you guys can Steve swears he's being shadow banned on Truth Social. Huh. I heard that Tucker Carlson decided to host his show on Twitter because he's still contractually obligated to Fox News, right? In that well, of course Rufo endorsed Trump or DeSantis for president. Of course, Rufo's been in DeSantis's back pocket for a while now. DeSantis is the one that appointed Rufo to the new school. Rufo has been advising him on the Disney stuff. Rufo advised him on the Stop Woke stuff. So of course Chris Rufo is going to endorse DeSantis. Of course he is. I mean, listen, man. Chris Rufo helped me out earlier today and gave me some good information that I'm not going to talk about yet because it's for a super secret project. So I'm no shade at Chris Rufo. I fucking love Chris Rufo. I think Chris Rufo's great. But obviously he was going to go for DeSantis. That's his boy. What else was I going to say? So what I heard in that Tucker Carlson what I heard is that Tucker Carlson is hosting his show on Twitter because he's still contractually obligated to Fox News. They didn't fire him. They still have a contract, and basically Tucker Carlson has to shut up until they break the contract. But there is a clause in the contract that says that Tucker Carlson can still post on Twitter. So he can do his show on Twitter and still be in his contract and still be getting that payout from Fox News for the contract that they still have him under, and do his show on Twitter and monetize Twitter at the same time, because in his contract, he's still allowed to remain and post on Twitter. So Tucker Carlson with the contract loophole. Isn't that funny?
DeSantis' event with Mr. Musk will be moderated by David Sachs, a Republican donor who is a supporter of the governor and is close to Mr. Musk. Mr. Sachs, a technology entrepreneur and investor, donated $50,000 to Mr. DeSantis' state political committee ahead of his re-election, campaign finance records show. He has spoken positively of the governor's handling of the coronavirus pandemic in Florida. He was the first governor to stop these insane lockdowns, Mr. Sachs said on Bloomberg TV in 2021. I respect that. In choosing spaces, Mr. DeSantis is relying on an audio-only streaming tool with a history of bugs and failures. Mr. Musk has used the feature regularly in the 6 months since he bought Twitter for $44 billion in October, appearing on Spaces to talk about the state of his various businesses and give interviews, which draw tens of thousands of listeners. Mr. Musk has said he voted for President Biden in the 2020 election, but has since been critical of him and his administration, which has a frosty relationship with Tesla, his electric car company. The billionaire has said it is difficult for Mr. Biden to stay in touch with voters at the age of 80. When asked about
it's also difficult because Joe Biden obviously and clearly has dementia.
Biden, in an interview on CNBC last week, Mr. Musk said he wanted a normal human being to lead the country. It's not simply a matter of do they share your beliefs, he said, but are they good at getting things done? While Mr. Musk has called himself a moderate, donating relatively small amounts to both Republicans and Democrats in the past, he has shifted his support in recent years towards the right. On Twitter, he has engaged with and shared right-wing conspiracy theories.
Like what?
Paranoia, including one about the October attack on Paul Pelosi, the husband of former Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Mr. Musk.
H.G. Tudor is British, and therefore he might not follow all of the intricacies of U.S. political shenanigans. And so we can forgive him when sometimes he thinks things are conspiracy theories when they're not conspiracy theories.
Has voiced his support for Mr. DeSantis, including last July when he tweeted that the Florida governor would easily win if matched up against Mr. Biden in 2024.
Oh, Musk did say that.
In November, he responded in the affirmative when asked by a Twitter user if he would support Mr. DeSantis in that year's election. Last summer, when Mr. DeSantis was asked about Mr. Musk's potential support, the Florida governor cracked, "I welcome support from African Americans. What can I say? Mr. Musk is white and from South Africa." In Florida, Mr. DeSantis has supported legislation intended, in his words,
That's funny.
to protect people against Silicon Valley elites. He has also criticized tech companies for their efforts to remove misinformation from their platforms, which he has likened to an assault on free speech and truth undertaken in concert with government officials. You've seen the administrative state collude with big tech to censor truthful information, whether it's people attacking COVID lockdowns, whether it's them questioning the efficacy of masks or school closures, Mr. DeSantis said in an April speech to the Conservative Heritage Foundation. There was a concerted effort for big tech companies to do what government is never permitted to do, permanently, directly rather. Accordingly, an interesting cozying up here and an example of narcissistic cementation, where the needs of two narcissists are being met by working in tandem together. It's only going to be short-lived in terms of a conversation, but voicing support for DeSantis, as I've explained, it demonstrates the way that both individuals gain from this, but remember, both need to maintain the assertion of control. And as we've seen with Elon Musk, there's been repeated instances where his behavior has been somewhat volatile, not in the sense of him going nuts, but with rather unusual decisions that he makes.
Elon Musk does sometimes do stupid decisions. Like, I'm still pissed off at Elon Musk over Substack. He fucked over Substack. And as you guys know, Substack is my content hub. And basically what Elon Musk has done is he has made it fucking impossible for me to post Substack links on Twitter. Like, Substack links used to populate beautifully on Twitter. There used to be a beautiful, like, subscribe thing that would happen, and, like, the articles and everything worked. And then fucking Elon Musk, because he got pissed off that Substack launched Notes, which is far better than Twitter on, like, every single level. Notes is, like, Substack's version of Twitter. He got pissed off when Substack launched it. He cut off their API access, and now you can't automatically load tweets in your Substack post, so I have to take screenshots. I used to just load and be beautiful. You can, and conversely, Twitter won't load Substack links. And he's just doing this to be a spiteful little bitch, and I'm still upset about it. So I agree with him on that. Elon Musk does sometimes make and also Elon Musk fucking lied about what he was doing. I covered this when it happened. Elon Musk would say, we were doing this because of reason X, Y, B, and Z. I'd be like, no, you lied. Bro, here's proof. You're lying. And Substack was like calling him out over on Substack. And it's stupid. There are so many people who are on Substack that didn't do anything wrong, that don't deserve to be punished. It's not cool, Elon. It's not.
And it would be a factor that would play into his relationship with Mr. DeSantis, and one that is worth watching to see what happens next in terms of the dynamic between the two. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.
All right. So HG Tudor thinking that Elon Musk and Ron DeSantis are cuddling up. Did he post anything else today? Let's just see. Sometimes when he posts one video, he'll post multiple videos on a topic. Nope, that's all for right now. But I do always like to get the opinion of our favorite narcissist, because I do think he's actually really insightful sometimes about psychology and stuff like that. I don't think he always gets it right, because again, I think that's more of a function of him like not being an American and not being like immersed in this space like we are. But he gets a lot right, and I do think he's insightful, and I think it's interesting. And you guys like him too, so that's why we listen to him. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. Again, as a reminder, the very best thing you can do to support me is by heading over to my Substack, Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com, and becoming a supporter today. I am looking to hit 200 new supporters to be able to fund and support the infiltration of a massive, massive, massive conference that is going to provide us with so much good material and is so important. And I will do my part, and I will try to do less bitching about how the conservative right is undermining every single goddamn thing that I'm doing. And because they don't know better. We now know they don't know better. I'm not talking about you individual conservatives. I'm talking about your constituency, okay? They don't know better. They haven't done the work we've done. Our understanding of what's going on is way too far ahead. And that's why we know this is important and they do not know it's important. But I'm telling you, and I will do a better job of explaining this for people who maybe are new, because it's not your fault you're new. It's not your fault you just got here. But if you join me on Fridays for happy hour at 5 p.m., if you join me on Saturdays for Socialism Saturday at 6 p.m., we're also doing a special early edition, I think, this week. You will understand why this is so important. And for right now, I need you to trust me that we need to infiltrate this conference, but I have set a goal and I'm sticking to it. And I want to know that this is valuable. Okay. I want to know that you guys find it valuable. I want to know that the effort and by the way, not just my time and energy, but the time and energy of the volunteers, the few dozen volunteers that I'm going to need to pull this off. I want to know that you guys value it. The way that you can show that and to fund the project at the same time is by picking up a membership on my Substack, Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. If you would like to fund it in other ways by sending a one-time gift or joining locals or joining Patreon, just head over to this post right here, 4 ways you can support my Unwoke activism, and you will get links to do all those things. And I do, of course, appreciate any support you want to give. I just prefer it to be on Substack because that is where I'm really trying to build out my home base, and you'll get access to the premium articles. I'm going to be posting a premium podcast later today, all sorts of good stuff. And we need to do this, guys. Please help me help you. I know a lot of you want to get like the golden Trump mug, which is great. And you can totally get the golden Trump in my Unwoke art store. But the thing of it is, the golden Trump is going to cost you like $34 because it's $24.99, and then shipping. I don't set the shipping rates. The shippers set the shipping rates, and it's beautiful and it's totally worth it. But I know some of you are paying $34 for a mug, and I just need you to prioritize. Okay, the mug is dessert. The conference infiltration are the vegetables, the meat, the bread, the butter, the sides. The conference infiltrations are everything, guys. They are the keys to the kingdom. And so please help support the work and the work of the Unwoke Army by becoming a member at Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. $5 a month, $50 a year. I will be back at 5 p.m. tomorrow with a new stream. Take care, guys.